Okay, so this is what my talk is about. Like, why is androgyny so popular right now? Why is it the most talked about issue?
Can I comment?
Mm-hmm.
Can I take a guess?
Mm-hmm.
Because I do believe in inversion, as above, so below. Totally true, in my opinion. Because Baphomet-esque. So it's there's Baphomet, and then there's like they're the side guys to the big guy. Basically, it's kind of like do what thou wilt. No judgments, and that allows you to do things that are bad. But you're like, hey, kind of in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, the rule that their view of that is
I'm gonna need another devil water soon.
the law of the will over anybody else's will, right? So like your will over any other will. So love under will, not will submits to love.
And they don't really think of it in terms of good and bad. That's what the checkerboard floor represents in the Masonic temple, is that the magician transcends good and evil, and your will is above.
Those are technologies.
Those are mundane ideas.
Say that in the simplest way, guys.
Instead of good and
So
evil.
first of all, just let me educate everybody. The checkerboard thing, if you just see black and white checkerboard, it's everywhere. And these guys are the first to hit me to this through their videos without them even knowing me. Is a symbol of what?
Go ahead.
Good and evil.
Uh-huh.
Day, night, right? So
Salt and pepper.
Yeah. Salt and pepper.
As a, it's one and the other. It's yin yang.
Yeah, right. And so the magician stands above those, right? Because he's standing on the checkerboard floor. So he's above black or white.
The magician is who?
A mason.
Anybody standing on that ritual floor.
And so he's standing there, and
he's above that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's not bound by good or evil. They're technology, they're chess pieces that the magician can use. That makes sense?
Kind of.
So like, rather than being bound by moral good or moral evil that I should avoid, I might use good and evil to my own benefit as a magician.
They're tools.
Yes.
So bad guy, good guy, you can be either one.
So do what thou wilt.
Yeah.
He's saying, so the magician is standing there in the simplest terms. He has these tools, and his philosophy is do what thou wilt. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do A or B, and in society, they might be looked upon as two different things, but no judgments over here.
Right.
So why is that the philosophy? What does that bring you?
Well, because you're the magus, you're the one who controls and sets you set the agenda, right?
Well, we've all got good and evil inside of us, you know.
Dude, you got it. You're doing bits in the middle of something very serious.
That's how I mean, my whole talk is like that.
No, but get to it. What do you mean?
I'm saying like the Jordan Peterson, like that's what he has this.
Oh, that was a Jordan?
Yeah.
I thought that was Kermit the Frog.
No, well, maybe both. Who knows? That's what it's all about.
So wait, okay.
You're an impressionist.
Yeah, I can do it.
I've watched all your shows. I've watched
Kermit the Frog. It sounded more like Kermit
than it did Jordan. Jordan,
okay.
I'd have to work on that. But that's all right.
What Jordan
this
Peterson,
guy took an edible and he's already all over the place. Jesus Christ. So wait, so you got this person who's you guys call the magician.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has the floor. And then the floor.
And he's on standing on that thing.
And the floor is good. And
he transcends good.
Yeah, he's above it, right.
So what does that mean that he uses it for what?
That means whatever he wants, if he gets that by being a good guy, he'll do that. And that's good. But if he wants something and he can get it by being a bad guy,
good and evil are relative.
It doesn't matter.
So the perfect way to say that. Good and evil are relative, and what you just said is perfect. So basically, the outcome of the goal he wants is the goal.
Yes.
And
ends
how
justify the means.
Yes. Okay. All right. So it's that, and that's a rule in Satanism or basic.
All magic.
Yeah.
Really. So it's not necessarily Satanism that we're always talking about, because there's so many branches that we cover. Masonry, Rosicrucian, Kabbalah, Hermetic, Voodoo,
Go back to androgyny. I'm sorry. Why that's so popular.
You don't want to. You're gonna get mad.
Well, the idea is that
Because Lucifer
the way that we are as human beings needs to be transcended, right? So we need to be some kind of new thing that's no longer guy, girl. You know, we need to become a transhumanist blob, new thing that is no prior thing.
in Luciferianism, Lucifer is an androgynous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing it with everybody.
So, what I talk about in my talk is the first goddesses were also androgynous: Inanna, Ishtar.
And they were actual real people.
Depends on if you believe in ancient aliens or not, or if you subscribe to Genesis 6, so it talks about, the Nephilim and the mixing of fallen angels and people to create these giants. So this is kind of what we would say would be like the first gods, the Anunnaki and ancient aliens.
So so if that's why I like to say focused. So if I should have done one at a time. So if first of all, this whole thing is happening right now. I don't know if it's happening more than ever. I don't know if we're seeing it because we can, but I do feel that's like this thing that is couched in love and acceptance is low-key Sodom and Gomorrah. And I'm sorry. I have to say this in the correct way so you don't get offended to people out there, but it's like, hey, here's where love and accept, but why are you judging me? So the goalposts are being pushed farther and farther away. We all agree on that. And do you think that this is happening more than ever? Mm-hmm. Even though it's been happening forever.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Are we seeing it more, or is it more than ever?
No, it's an intentional. Have you heard of Tavistock Institute? You heard
I
of that?
have.
Yeah, that's intentionally who's kind of the mastermind of a lot of this on purpose. So more than ever. There's also a 1960s Rockefeller document called the Jaffe Memo, and it describes the promotion of pretty much everything that you could think of outside of the, quote, traditional norm, not because of anything to do with human rights or freedom, but for social control. So the long-term goal isn't about human rights and all that. It uses that terminology, but the end goal is something much weirder and worse, which is transhumanism. So you have to have all this stuff first before you can have the idea that we'll transcend our human nature and we'll become some sort of, semi-robot.
But why do we need to do all this to get to that? Because transhumanism's kind of here.
Right. Well, because it takes phases of kind of training through social engineering to get people warmed up to that stuff.
But why throw Satan in?
Well, two different ways you could view that. You could view it like Satanism is like a tool that the elite use as one of the cults that's part of the overall cult structure that they control. Or you could say that there's an actual entity called Satan who's kind of like in the spiritual realm, kind of above the whole conspiracy, right? You've heard of, Dave Icke, right?
Of course.
The Cheetah Uri. He talks about the Cheetah Uri.
Yes,
right?
the legend.
So the archons, right? What he's talking about, you could say, well, that's kind of like what Satan is, you could say, if that makes sense.